Hello everyone, welcome to ACE Online and welcome to daily current affairs session. So, we will discuss the current affairs that are in news for today. There are not too many news for today, right. So, we will see what are all the things. Chang'e 6 satellite, so this is of science and technology. This is a satellite of China, so we will see the details about it. And then this is a little bit lengthy article because this is a issue based, right. So, it is not about mugging up the facts, but there is a lot of issues involved. I will discuss, I will break it down in a simpler manner, and if you have any doubts, please do let me know in the comment section, right. Then this is, as I said, this is part of environment. Then South China Sea, again the issue of Philippines and then China, we will see this as well. So, this is part of IR as well as geography, IR in the sense international relations. Then coalition for disaster resilient infrastructure. So, recently conference has happened, 6th conference. So, this is part of disaster management. Okay. Next panel, United Nations panel, it is not a normal panel, else we could have not been discussed here. Panel on critical energy transition minerals. So, this is part of energy, clean energies of course. So, it can be taken as environment part as well. Then finally, some factual pointers and practice questions from the contents that we discussed, right. I hope my voice as well as video is clear from my side. Yeah, very good evening, Srinath, Santosh, Malni, Sahana, Oindrila. So, let us start with today's article, that is first one, Chang'e 6 satellite. So, this is not the first series of satellite, this is a been 6th series. So, in 2007 they have already launched the Chang'e 1 satellite, right. So, they may directly ask you this name itself, right, and the purpose also they will ask, right. So, they will also ask the purpose. Now, what is the context, why we have taken this article? So, that is also important, sometimes it will help you to recollect the facts, right. So, they are going to launch Chang'e 6 satellite in this coming week, right, and this will be done through the backup of one more mission. Let me tell you, let us break it down. This is Earth, right, and then moon is revolving around the earth, right. So, here there is a moon, this is earth and this is moon. So, moon is exactly having the same rotation speed, like how earth is taking 24 hours, approximately moon also takes the same amount of to revolve around the earth. So, if you assume that this is a earth, right, earth is rotating and I am the moon. So, we are rotating in a same synchronous manner. So, what is happening here? We can always see only one face of the moon, right. So, because of the synchronity of the rotation, see this is also rotating, I am also rotating as a moon, right, to around the earth. It is because of the same speed, only half of the face of moon is seen and behind the my back, which can taken as a moon's back, so it cannot be seen, right. So, this is the nature. Now, most of the satellites are launched towards the face which we can see, right. So, the satellites were not able to launch the back side of the moon because of various critical conditions, but this is going to be the first satellite of China which is going to be launched as the far side of the moon, which we cannot see, right, from earth we cannot see. And here there is one more issue that you need to understand, it is very difficult to communicate with the satellite which is far side of the moon, right, because of lack of light, lack of direct oversight, which we cannot observe the what you call, you cannot send the signals properly. So, it is a difficult. So, they are using one more satellite which was already launched. For example, this is earth, right, and this is moon, say for example it is revolving around the earth. Now, here satellite on the back side we are launching. So, we could not able to get the direct signals, right, because only half of the face of moon is seen. So, that is why there is a one more satellite which was launched around it, around the moon. So, what we are doing, this is called as a relay satellite. So, we will send the signals to it and this satellite will send the signals and it will receive and the information is given back. So, relay satellite is launched to communicate with the satellite which the Chang'e which is going to be launched in the next week, as we cannot directly communicate with it, right. So, I hope this is understood the concept of direct line of sight as well as the rotation of moon and the earth. I hope this is clear. Any doubts in this? Any doubts in this? Yeah. Now, let us move to the features of the Chang'e 6 mission, which is going to be launched this week. As I said earlier, the first Chang'e series was launched in 2007, right, and the main aim is to explore the lunar surface, that is moon surface. They want to collect the data related to the moon, how we has launched Chandrayaan-3, similarly with a different set of objectives and then different set of launch mechanisms, right. Of course, this is being launched on the back side of the moon, right. In 2020, since the China came into the picture when they have started launching these missions in 2007, they were able to achieve the technology that is having in USA, right. USA is considered as the most advanced country in terms of space technology, because of China has reduced after its disintegration since 1991, but now China is competing with USA, right. USA is also planning to launch the far side and send the humans to the moon, right. First woman mission to the moon. There is a lot of missions going on, and China was able to compete with USA and even outpaced in certain space missions, right. So, China is trying to do much more than what USA has done, and they have also collected recently, few years back, they have even collected the samples and the satellite has came back. Usually once the satellites are launched, they will collapse in the space or they will keep rotating on the orbit, but they were able to collect the sample from this. They were able to collect the sample and also for the first time could safely return an uncrewed spacecraft. So, for the first time they have achieved that, to get back the spacecraft which was launched into the whatever the space, right. So, this is also one important advancement in Chinese scientific methodologies or the scientific explorations. Now, as I said, they have already launched a relay satellite which will rotate for 53 days. Relay satellite, as I said, is a command, which will communicate with the satellite which we are not able to directly communicate. So, this will act as an intermediary which will collect the data as well as send the data, and accordingly it will retreat back to the earth, right. So, they have launched this one, and this Chang'e 6 which is going to be launched will be relying on this relay satellite, right. Now, the same relay satellite which they have launched, they are going to use for Chang'e 7 and then Chang'e 8 as well, which they are planning to launch in 2027 as well as 2028. Same this relay satellite that they are using now, they are going to use for the coming missions, and they are uncrewed missions. Actually, China is planning to send the humans to the moon in 2030, but before that they will test the uncrewed missions, right. So, this relay satellite is also going to be launched, right. So, this will attempt this will be one important thing about Chang'e 6 is it is going to be launched at the world, the solar system's oldest known impact crater. Crater means a depression. So, if any space object comes and hit the earth, there will be a depression. We have a Lonar lake also in Maharashtra, right, which was created because of meteoroid effect. So, similarly, there was a crater on the moon. This is the oldest known crater since now. So, this Chang'e 6 will be landing in this part. So, this name is Aitken Basin. This is also you need to remember Aitken Basin, right. So, Aitken Basin you need to remember. They will ask you world's oldest, or sorry, solar system's oldest crater, Aitken Basin. So, that is located on the moon. So, this is of the objectives. They are going to land at the far side of the moon, and then they are going to explore the materials in the moon, and they are also going to collect the data related to those things, right, related to the moon, and it is going to be launched in Aitken Basin. So, that is about the Chang'e 6 satellite launch, right. We will see whether it will be succeeded or it will be any other thing, it may be failed or it may succeed also. Let us see what will happen. Next article, any doubt in this? Chang'e 6, any doubt in Chang'e 6 satellite? Very simple, there is no complexity involved, just you need to understand the rotation of moon as well as the line of oversight directly, which we could not able to see, right. Objectives and all is very direct. Now let us move to the very important and a little bit lengthy article, and is the issue based article, unclassified forests. Okay, unclassified forests, right. Great, thanks for the response. Now let us see the context. There was an article in the Hindu has published a very good article about it. So the Supreme Court has ordered certain things. I won't tell you what order and all, because you are yet to understand the actual article. We will come back to the context again. Just understand that Supreme Court has ordered certain things to the union government and state governments, and they were not able to follow properly. That is the context what the Hindu is saying, and what is that Supreme Court has asked why they did not follow, that we will come back to the context again. Let us understand the background first, what has happened. So the ultimate aim of the article is to make you know about the importance of forests, how the Supreme Court has ordered to protect the forests, and the central government as well as the state governments, they are protecting, but they are aiming to enhance the development rather than the forests, right. So this is the background. Now in 1995 and 1996, there is a person, T.N. Godavarman from Kerala and Tamil Nadu region, of course. I mean, it is a border of Tamil Nadu and Kerala. He has filed a petition in the Supreme Court. That the forests of Nilagiri are being degraded by the developmental activities. So he directly went to the Supreme Court, filed, because that is affecting the local people in the Nilagiri region. So this is the time that Supreme Court has to take the pronouncement in this regard. So this was popularly known as Godavarman case, and many times the cases are very, very important to be understood or to be remembered for our exams, whether it is of preliminary exams or if you are writing an answer, subjective answers as well. So this is popularly known as Godavarman, right, and the petition filed is to protect the Nilgiri forest, right. So understand the petition filed. Now what the Supreme Court has pronounced, right. Now what the Supreme Court has pronounced. Before this pronouncement, the definition of forests were not clearly defined. The central government has defined it under the Forest Right Act 1980, but the definition is selective, right. So it should have certain amount of trees per square kilometers, this, that and all, you no need to worry. But the union government through Forest Act 1980, they have defined certain definition for the forest, and this definition is not exactly what the dictionary meaning of the forest. So for example, there is this amount of forests, and what the central government definition covers only this amount. So approximately this much amount of forest is being excluded from the definition. If we take the dictionary meaning, all this comes under the forest, but what the definition has prepared under the act, only this much and this much amount of forest is excluded, right, was excluded from the definitions. So Supreme Court has pronounced that the definition of forest should be refined, and they need to consider the dictionary meaning of the forest, not your own forest that you have decided based on the experts and all. Let us take only the dictionary meaning itself. There is a simple meaning, anything related to the greenery for certain amount of area, it can be considered as a forest. Now if we take the definition of forest as dictionary one, what is the benefit? Tell me, anyone? If we are taking the dictionary meaning of the forest, what is the significance of it? Why Supreme Court has pronounced that? Why Supreme Court has pronounced to take the dictionary meaning of forest rather than the definition that was created under the legal backing of Forest Act? Right? Tell me, anyone? This is has to be understood. You cannot by heart this type of things. You need to have a clear mindset. Yes, Ranjan has answered, very good, right. So that's what the answer I am expecting, that our forest area will be increased. So that is a very good thing for India, isn't it? We are having lot of laws, we are saying theoretically that we will protect, but practically we are focusing more on development rather than on the greenery or the forest conservation. Ultimately after 40-50 years then we will realize the importance of forests, isn't it? After negatively being affected in terms of health or whatever may be, then we will realize, right. So Supreme Court has ordered, and you all know that if there is any law in India regarding the definitions or whatever may be, if Supreme Court pronounce certain things, from the date of announcement that comes into the picture, even if there is no law, if Supreme Court pronounce certain thing, it will come into the picture. So it has asked the governments to consider the definition based on the dictionary and ordered, instructed all the state governments, because land is a state subject, right. So forests are in concurrent subject under the 7th schedule, but land is of state government. So Supreme Court has asked all the state governments and union territories in India to form a panels, expert panel, to study the whatever the forest area that is covered based on the dictionary definition. Please try to submit the report after inquiring related to the forest definition. So they have asked all the state governments, right. Now before going into the present case, let us also understand the Forest Act, Amendment Act of 2023, right. So Supreme Court has pronounced way back in 1996, right, but still the work is going on, and meanwhile central government has come up with the new act. Central government has come up with the new act. The actual forest definition, as I said, forest definition was given by Forest Right Act FRA 1980. It was passed way back in 1980. This is the government definition which was derived from Forest Right Act 1980, and in 1996 Supreme Court has given dictionary meaning through Godavarman case. Dictionary meaning for the forest, right. So 16 years has been spent. In this 16 years there was a lot of development in the forest which are not comes under the dictionary meaning. So as we have seen here, there was a lot of development in this region because this was not considered as a forest under the Forest Right Act 1980, right. But there was lot of development, and the most of this land were under different criteria, whether part of government, whether part of corporates, whether part of protected areas. So this forest was widely commercially used between this 16 years, right. So that's why government has realized that we have already given permissions for a lot of development in the this forest area which are not under the definition of actual 1980 Forest Act. So these are called as a deemed forests, you can remember that as well, deemed forests, those forests which are part of dictionary definition but not under the definition of Forest Right Act 1980, right. So lot of developmental activities has taken place in the deemed forests, right. So because of that, government has passed the Forest Right Conservation Act in 2023. They have amended the Forest Right Act, and then they have said that the act would apply to those lands which are recorded on or after 1980. Fine, after 1980 whatever the forest definition will be covered, that is fine. So 1996 forest, the deemed forest also will cover, but again they have given an exemption. They have, in the act itself they have mentioned that the act would not apply to those forests which are legally diverted between 1996 and 1980 and 1996. Understand this, I am repeating again, Forest Definition Act was 1980 and the Dictionary Act was come into 1996. Supreme Court has pronounced, but in between these 16 years there was a lot of developmental activities given permission by the government itself, right. Now this was exempted in Forest Right Act 2023, which they amended. This 16 years land, whatever that was used for commercial activities, that was exempted from this act. So we are going to protect all the land of forest after 1980, except that this 16 years whatever has happened will be exempted. It will not be considered as a forest, right. So is this clear from my side? Lakshmi Prasanna, sir, as a lot of deforestation taking place in the Raipur Visakhapatnam highway, yes, they have to take care, like they have quoted this somewhere else, some forest as well, because that is legally a mandate. If you are converting the forest land, you need to do it. So yes, government is doing, but yes, whether it is transparently happening or not, we don't know. Theoretically, yes, it is happening. Any doubts in this? What has happened till now? What has happened in the Forest Right Act 2023? They have exempted the lands, right, from 1980 to 1996 to conserve under the Forest Act, right. So they are giving exemption and promoting the development. Now the present case is that the petitioner has filed, one petitioner has filed that this amount of land was exempted. Whatever the Godavarman case the Supreme Court has pronounced, they are trying to sideline that, right. So they have filed a petition in the Supreme Court. Now Supreme Court will be listening, I mean still it is listening, it is under the consideration whether they have followed this definition or not. So there may be some issue in the coming future if they are not following properly. Also if you remember, we just talked about what you call the expert committees of the states. So Supreme Court has ordered to create the expert committees of each of the states, and then they need to put the data in front of the public, in the websites and in front of the Supreme Court as well. They have given it, right. Now the same was asked to the central government. This petitioner, before filing the case in the Supreme Court, he has filed a RTI, Right to Information Act, right. So he has filed a Right to Information Act, and under the Right to Information Act the reply was that we don't have proper data, right. Supreme Court has already pronounced in 1996 to put all the data in front of Supreme Court as well as the public, but the reply from RTI Act was that center does not have the information. So it is against the court ruling. If you understood, the government is given reply with against the court ruling, right. Now the recently in the April 1st week they have published the data. Now after many RTIs and then some cases with the Supreme Court, now they have provided the data, available data in the Ministry of Environment website, right. Now if we go through the data, this was also given in the Hindu itself, the data has clearly presented a very grim picture of what the government has taken, all the state governments has taken, right. So it is a grim picture in the state. No state has provided the verifiable data. Supreme Court has to provide the verifiable data, what is deemed to be forest, what is the excluded forest and all, to frame a proper definition for forest related to the dictionary meaning, right. But they were just given the vague data, right. The whatever the data given in the website is a very vague without any proper verification, right. So this is one issue. Also 7 states and union territories, they did not constitute even the state expert committee itself. Supreme Court has said, but they did not even keep the expert panels, expert committees. So this is a violation of the Supreme Court judgment, so they can take the contempt action as well in the coming days, right. And also 23 states out of 23 states which has provided the information related to the dictionary meaning of forest, whatever they are available in the states, only 17 are in line with the court's directive. Rest of the 6 states were not able to give even the normal information also. So this is also against the Supreme Court judgment, and only 9 states have provided the unclassed forests, also called as deemed forests, right. So the forests which were not included in the Forest Right Act 1980, but they are part of dictionary meaning of forest, those are called as unclassed or deemed forest. We have seen example, right. So no state, okay, only 9 states has provided. So rest of all approximately 15 to 18 states did not even provided any information related to the deemed forest, even after Supreme Court asking them, right. So most of the states and union territories they have given the normal forest information. We have this much amount, we have this much amount, we have increased this much, but what Supreme Court has asked, they haven't published, right. So this is the issue. Now Supreme Court will be considering, and they may take contempt action also, they may employ some fine also on the state governments as well as central government, right. So now what we need to do, what we have to do in the coming days, the article also provided certain solution. the loss of such forest, the deemed forest, will be affecting on all the states, right? They need to be investigated clearly, how much amount of deemed forests are there, who are all occupying, for what development they are occupying, all the details has to be transparent and keep in front of the public. So this is what the article has suggested. It is also clear that reports are fake, right? Whatever the provided were against the court's judgment, and this is the main objective for us. I mean, the Godavarman order of Supreme Court will be a very good directive to increase our forest cover. We already have 33% target for overall India's forest, but we are still at 22%, right? So if we want to increase our forest cover, all the states should proactively increase the forest definition in terms of dictionary, and they need to put the information in front of the public, right? So this is what the solution. Any doubts in this? I hope this is clear. So we have discussed, let's come back to the context also to make you more clear. So this is what, in compliance with the February 19 Supreme Court order, that they need to provide information immediately. In the next few weeks, you provide the information related to the deemed forest. So in April first week, they have provided the information, and all this information is very vague, which is not at all in the direction of the Supreme Court. So that's why the court has been, the petitioner has filed a case in the Supreme Court. So we have seen what is T.N. Godavarman case, and then we have seen the judgment of Supreme Court in the Godavarman case, and then government has brought Forest Conservation Amendment Act 2023 to avoid those forests which were allowed for development. Government itself has given permission. So to overcome that, government has excluded those definitions, and then this was again challenged in the case by the petitioner, right? So RTA information was not clear, and the information provided in the website is also very vague. So we have to see what Supreme Court will take the measures. Any doubts? Please do respond if you have any query, else you will if Supreme Court impose fine, the money will be utilized for forest itself. The Supreme Court will decide that you haven't taken this much this measures, so each state has to provide 1 crore or 2 crore, whatever may be, and Supreme Court may direct those money to spend on increasing the forest, whatever Supreme Court decides, right? So this may happen, we have to see what will happen, right? Great. Let's move to the next article, South China Sea, right? So this has been issue many times, we have discussed many times also, but again it was there in news. This is because of China. Let's see what China has done, right? It is like a very childish act, I would say. Philippines denied China's claim on agreement over disputed islands. So there was a disputed island in South China Sea, and China has said that Philippines has accepted to resolve this dispute, and Philippines has said that no, we did not accept. They themselves are saying that we have accepted to have an agreement. So Philippines has denied the China claims that China and Philippines has agreed, resolved this issue, but Philippines said that there is no resolution at all. They themselves are considering that it was resolved, right? So that's why it is been there in news. So China's activities are like this only. They want to occupy all the land surrounding. Even with Russia also in 1960s, 70s, they have disputed with the Russia as well. They want Mongolian island, Mongolian land. They want India's land. They want Pakistan's land also, right? They want all the seas, whatever surrounding. So half of the world they want to occupy. So that's the ideology of China. So that's why there is a dispute in this South China Sea, right? So let's see. Before going into the issue, let's understand. This was published in the Indian Express, very detailedly given. So let's see about the South China Sea, where it is located and what is the significance, right? So here the South China Sea is located in the eastern part of Asia. So if you observe here there is a Taiwan, and from here, starting from here, all this is a South China Sea, and this red color one is called as a 9-dash line. This red color one, which was already drawn here, this is a 9-dash line. It is like a cow tongue, and they claim that all this tongue is theirs, right? There are many countries here. There is a Brunei here, there is a Indonesia, there is a Malaysia, there is a Philippines, there are other countries also, and they want all these water bodies into themselves. They are saying that all these water are ours, and they have shown this some charts which are having no significance, right. So South China Sea is located in the eastern part of Asia, and all these countries are part of South China Sea, and it connects to the East China Sea. It connects to the East China Sea as well as the Pacific Ocean through Philippines Sea, right. So these are the countries that are bordering with the South China Sea. These are facts, there is nothing to be explained here, this is a fact. Let me go to the issue, then I will explain you, right. So it is an arm of Western Pacific Ocean, right. So it is located in the East Asia, and it is part of Pacific Ocean, right. It is not part of Indian Ocean, it is part of Pacific Ocean, and these are the countries. Now it connects, see here, South China Sea, these facts will be asked in the exam. South China Sea is connected to the East China Sea through Taiwan Strait. So above this there is a East China Sea, this is South China Sea, and that is East China Sea. So East China Sea is connected with the South China Sea through Taiwan Strait, that is one important point. Now South China Sea is connected with the Philippine Sea through Luzon Strait. So these two straits you need to remember. So we have seen strait means a narrow water body which connects the larger water bodies. So here Luzon Strait is connecting between South China Sea and Philippine Sea, and then Taiwan Strait is connecting South China Sea with East China Sea. So geographically these points are important, right. Now there is a importance of South China Sea. Why everyone want to claim South China Sea? Because there are certain reasons. It is the hub for global trade. Most of the trade that is happening with the Southeast Asia and then China, Japan and all is passing through it. So $5 trillion of money of trade is passing through this South China Sea. So whoever holds this, they will have a huge edge to control the trade, right. And it is also having huge amount of hydrocarbons. We need oil, right. So that is why it is a very huge resource for hydrocarbons. So still exploration is going on. It was proved that 11 billion barrels of oil is being found in South China Sea. One barrel how many liters? Anyone? So approximately 150 or 160. So this much amount of oil is present there. Similarly, vast amount of fishing grounds are present in the South China Sea. That is why China want to control all the South China Sea, right, and other countries also want to have the benefits out of it. Now what is the dispute about? We have seen the geography of South China Sea and we have seen the importance of South China Sea as well. Now what is the dispute about? In the international waters we have a territorial sea, right, we have a exclusive economic zones, right. So we have discussed in one of the sessions, if you could able to recall, who are attending the session since the beginning, we have discussed the from the coastal area towards the ocean. So approximately 200 nautical miles is the exclusive economic zone, right. But here, as this is a narrow sea, all the countries have the same borders, right. So all the countries have this exclusive economic zones. So China is having common exclusive economic zone with the Philippines and then other countries, Indonesia, Brunei. So all the countries are also having the rights over it, but there are no proofs whose land is that, right. So this is the dispute, right, and among them also certain islands were also being distributed, Parcel Islands, Scarborough Islands, Spratly Islands. So these are the three major disputed islands. So you need to remember also these three names may come in the exam, and you need to remember that they are part of South China Sea, and Parcel Islands are the northernmost, and then Scarborough was similar to that, and Spratly Island was the southernmost. So all the countries are claiming the waters, right, they want all this control. So that is the issue about, and China claims everything, right. So this is the issue about. Now Philippines has went to the court in 2016. There is an international court, UN Convention on Law of Seas, right. So there is like how we have a court for every country, we have also permanent court of arbitration, which all the countries disputes will be resolved, right. And the court has pronounced that what China is claiming, that all their land 90% of it is fake. So whatever you are claiming, China, your claim 90% have no proofs, you are just showing your own maps, you have created your own maps and you are showing that this is your land, but there is no proper proof, that is not a proper document, alright. So China has rejected the ruling, and India has asked the China to follow this. Not only India, all the countries have asked the China to follow the ruling, because China is also part of UN clause, right? India is also part, but still China did not follow, and it has rejected the judgment, right? So, and many neighbors also have fight with it. So, all the countries have disputed with the China now. So, we have to see what will happen. Still it is going on. USA is supporting Philippines and some other, Japan, all these countries are there, but still the dispute has not been resolved, right. So, as we have seen, there are 3 important disputed islands. The present case dispute is Thomas Shoal. The Philippines, yesterday the dispute was Thomas Shoal, which is located in the Scarborough Reef. So, I have just shown you, within that Scarborough Shoal there is a one small island. So, these 3 are the disputed island, major popular disputed island among these countries, right. So, any doubts in this? Nagarjun Reddy, Indian State of Forest Report 2000 consider the deemed forest or not, sir, as per SC order. See, they haven't mentioned about the deemed forest. Whatever the government data is there, they have considered only those data, right. That is why our forest percentage is 22% only. If they could have considered the deemed forest as part of it, our forest might be more than 30%. They are all developed, all those lands were already used, and there was lot of tourist places, and then government infrastructure as well, right. So, there was lot of such infrastructure. So, we need to go back, we need to demolish them, all those things who have occupied the land. So, forest report did not consider the deemed forest. They tentatively said that this amount of percentage is there, but they did not calculate as part of the forest. That is why our forest percentage is low. Great. Moving to the next article, that is Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure. So, why we have taken this article? Because recently 6th edition of International Conference on Disaster Resilient Infrastructure was addressed by our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, right. So, that is why we have taken this article. Now, this conference is part of Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure. So, there is already an agreement, an organization which was established to take care of disaster. So, every year, like how we are meeting for climate change, UNFCCC, this also every year conducting the conference, meeting of all the member countries, right. So, this is a conference under the Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, and why they are meeting? The case of same, like why we are meeting for UNFCCC for climate mitigation, the same way to enhance the disaster response and increase the disaster resilient infrastructure. So, if some people who are here are from civil engineering background, you might be knowing about the retrofitting and earthquake resistant building designs, right. So, this type of infrastructure want to be promoted in the coming future, because there will be a disasters increasing because of the human activities. So, we need to also find ways, find solutions to have a disaster resilient infrastructure, right. So, that is the objective. Now, let us understand Coalition of Disaster Resilient Infrastructure. So, it is a coalition, means it is not an body as such like United Nations, it is an agreement among the member countries, and some member countries are there like India, France, UK, some member countries are also part of this agreement. Similarly, UN agencies, even United Nations has joined this, right, and it was initiated by India. We can say it in a very proud manner that India has initiated it, right, and all the private, all the governments, United Nations, anyone can come and become part of this particular agreement or coalition, right. And main aim is, as I said earlier, to promote the disaster resilient infrastructure across the world, right, also to promote the climate friendly activities, right, that is the objective. And this was launched in 2019, launched way back 5 years before in the United Nations Climate Action Summit in New York, right. So, in 2019 we had a conference summit, United Nations Climate Action Summit. On the sidelines of it, India along with the support of UK has joined, initiated this coalition, right. The government of India, second global initiative, we are already having International Solar Alliance. If you are aware about it, we already launched International Solar Alliance on the sidelines of Paris meet in 2015 with the support of France. So, this is the second such global initiative which India has initiated, and as of now we have 31 countries and many other organizations are also part of this coalition, right. So, that is about the coalition on disaster resilient infrastructure, right. Yeah. So, this fact more important is when it was launched and on which sidelines. Many times it has been asked on the sidelines of which of the agreement we have signed certain initiatives. So, you need to remember that it was signed in New York on the sidelines of United Nations Climate Action Summit, right. Next, the last article for today, after that we have a factual elements and we will solve questions. Panel on critical energy transition, panel on critical energy transition, and the context is United Nations, whatever initiatives taken by United Nations and then other related organization is very important for us, right. So, United Nations appoint a panel for critical energy transition minerals. So, they will ask you which bodies, which organization has recently launched the critical panel on critical energy transition minerals. It is nothing but United Nations, right. So, now let us see what actually these critical energy transition minerals, then we will come back to the context or the panel work, right. So, critical energy minerals, you all know that we are shifting the energy from coal based towards the renewable energies like solar, wind, right, hydro energy and nuclear energy also we are shifting. Partially it is also considered as a renewable energy, right. Still the studies are going on, see whether it will have any climate effects or not. So, for the production of those energy, the clean energy, we need a certain critical minerals which are climate friendly, like lithium you can take, right, nickel, cobalt. So, these are all which are used in the equipment to produce the clean energy, right. So, all our international agreements are now being shifted towards the clean energies by bypassing the coal energy, right. So, even India is doing the same. So, because of that we need a critical minerals, and not all the earth is equally distributed. Some country may be having more critical minerals and some country may be having less amount of critical minerals. So, that is why it has appointed a panel to explore that the transition should happen in a very smooth manner. All the countries has to be benefited, not only the few countries which are having the resources, but all the world together has to be benefited, right. And here they have also mentioned one lithium triangle in the article in Indian Express, that also we will see. Lithium is a very critical mineral, right. So, we can produce lot of cells, fuel cells, and that can promote the clean transportation as well, electric vehicles as well. So, one article also this article also mentions about the lithium triangle. Lithium triangle spreads in the South American continent, Chile, Bolivia and Argentina. In this region, in this whole region, lithium reserves are very high, right. So, all the countries has to be benefited, not just about these three countries. They will ask you about lithium triangle also, where it is located. It is located in South America, spread over Argentina, Bolivia and Chile, right. So, this also we need to be remembered. Now, the panel aims, as I said, they want to promote the transparency in the energy shift, not only few countries has to be benefited. So, they want to study, this panel want to study where they are located and how we can translate. All the mechanisms are very generic in nature. It includes all the governments, Asian, European, India as well, right. So, all the countries has joined the panel and they are going to discuss, and then accordingly they will shift towards the clean energies. So, that is about the panel, right. Now, let us move. Any doubts in this, the articles that we have discussed? Out of the 5 articles, do you have any doubts? You can let me know if you have any doubts. Let us move to the factual pointers. Negotiations are under the aegis of UNEP to address the plastic pollution. Can anyone recollect that 1 week back we have discussed about the plastic talks, green plastic talks in the sense, we have discussed that there was no agreement at the international level to contain the plastic pollution, right. I think you can recall that we have discussed 1 week back. So, under this agreement, under these discussions to contain the plastic pollution, there was a mention of bisphenol A, which is highly used in the plastic manufacturing, right. So, the bottles, whatever, and it is very highly threat for the human health as well as the environment. A small microplastics, or which we are called as micro beads as well, less than 5 microns. So this is a very harmful material for both plastic pollution as well as human health. So they are trying to eliminate this in the manufacturing, that is why we are discussing this, right. Next one, recently Rampage missiles, the name you have to remember, Rampage missiles were inducted into Indian Air Force as well as Indian Navy, right. This missiles has been inducted and they are long range, that means they can travel longer ranges, and then supersonic. Supersonic means higher than sound, more than 1 Mach. Mach is a unit of sound, right, speed of sound. So more than 1 Mach, supersonic means higher than speed of sound, and also air to surface missiles, that means from air and this is land. So from air they can shoot out the targets, right. So Indian government has deployed this, and this was developed not by India but the Israel aerospace industries. So it is not a indigenous, we have deployed it from Israel, and the range is 250 kilometers. So it can hit the target up to 250 kilometers, alright. Next one, US authorities has banned our Indian spices, saying that Salmonella bacteria was present. So they will ask you what is Salmonella, it is nothing but a bacteria which is harmful for our health, alright. So they have banned, and it is an anaerobic bacteria, that means they can strive without the oxygen in the absence of oxygen, right. So these are the factual pointers, right. So let us move to the last part, that is practice questions. We have a few practice questions today, unlike on daily basis. Let us see who will solve these questions. Any doubts? Okay. First question, the compound bisphenol A, sometimes mentioned in news, is related to what? Bisphenol A, forest fires, plastic pollution, food adulterant, rocket fuels. In what context they are mentioned in news? Any answers? So we have discussed this was under the talks of United Nations Environment Program to avoid in manufacturing of plastic. Yes, all of you have answered this correct. Malini, Srinath, Sahana, Ranjan, Lakshmi, Santosh, Madan, Swarupa, Indila, Chida. Very good. So this is a very easy question. Next question, with reference to Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, consider the following statements. So we have seen the Coalition of Disaster Resilient Infrastructure. So let us see the statements. It is an initiative of United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction, first statement. Second one, it is a platform where knowledge is generated and exchanged on different aspects of disaster and climate resilient infrastructure. So this is the yes, Nagarjuna also answered it as correct, B. This is the second statement. New Development Bank is the funding agency for Coalition Disaster Resilient Infrastructure. So now tell me the answer. This is a little bit tricky. First one, it is an initiative of United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction. No, this is an initiative of India itself. It is a coalition rather than deriving from organization. It is a coalition started by India and 31 countries has joined. So first statement is wrong. So you can eliminate two options. Second statement, yeah, you are left with two options and 2 is there. So it is the aim of the Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure. New Development Bank is the funding agency of Coalition for Disaster Reduction. No, New Development Bank is funding for the BRICS. New Development Bank was launched under the BRICS, right? Brazil, Russia, India, and then China, South Africa. So this was launched for BRICS, not for this. It was funded by different countries together, right? So third statement also stands wrong and answer is B. So you need to have that other basic knowledge also to answer such type of questions. So who have answered this? Santosh, Sahana has answered, Malini has answered, Oindila has answered, Srinath and Trida has answered B, right? Great. Next question, South China Sea border with which of the following? So, South China Sea is bordering which of the following they are asking? East China Sea, LOC, Bay of Bengal. East China Sea, LOC, Bay of Bengal. So, through to which other water body South China Sea is bordering? So, you can correct one, right? We have seen it is connected through East China Sea with the strait, Taiwan Strait. So, one should be there, you can eliminate one option, right. Second one, Bay of Bengal you can eliminate, isn't it? Bay of Bengal in the east coast of India, and then there is a Andaman Sea, and then we have a Malacca Straits, and other than right side if you go South China Sea, there is no contact with the Bay of Bengal. If it was there with the Bay of Bengal, China could have claimed even Bay of Bengal also, right. So, you can eliminate this one as well, and LOC is also not border with the South China Sea, it is bordering with the East China Sea, and this is located near the North and South Korea, right. So, answer is A. And who have answered this? Santosh, Sahana, Oindila, Malini, Madan, Ranjan, Trida, Lakshmi and Sahana. Yeah, Asmin. Everyone has answered almost except one or two, right. So, this is about today's session. We do not have too many MCQs because the topics are less, right. So, this is all from today's session. I hope you have enjoyed. If you enjoy this, please do like and share our videos, right. Have a great evening. Thank you.